You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and John. Well, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Mike, and with me, as always, is my good friend John here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good to hear. I'm doing good. I'm digging this soundtrack.
Yeah, really digging it.
Oh yeah. We are talking of Shovel Knight this evening. It is a game by Yacht Club Games. It was just a wonderful experience. When it first came out, it was a revolution. I think this kind of love for the 8-bit, 16-bit pixel games came back for a lot of people, and the soundtrack does not disappoint.
Yeah, it's the good platformer. It seems like it's like, after 2010, 2015, people started to make really, really good platformers for PC games or for any system. And it looks like this. I unfortunately never played it, but I played games that are similar to it, like Rogue Legacy. That's what it is.
Rogue Legacy. Okay, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, but I've played games that are similar to it, like Rogue Legacy, which is a really good platformer. So, yeah, I think it's one of those games I need to go back and experience.
I would definitely say it's worth it. We're not necessarily a video game promotional tool, but it is one of the best deals in video games I've ever seen. The base game was, when it first released, I think $15, and then if you were one of those people who had it, I think all the DLC was free, and they were complete packages of brand new characters that you play as with a brand new set of levels, and most importantly for some people, brand new music.
That's awesome. They didn't make you pay per level, like $2.99 per
No. No, thank God. They do have a bundle now that is, I think, $25. You get everything. So it's still a fantastic deal, even if you had to pay for the DLC. But so the soundtrack is composed by the one and only Jacob Kaufman, with 2 songs contributed by the illustrious Manami Matsumae, and she is known for her work on Mega Man. Oh. And that is awesome to have the original Mega Man composer come back. A complete guess, but it's obvious to me that Jake was inspired by her work on the first 2 Mega Man games, and now he gets to work with her and create some pretty beautiful tracks and inspire his own legions of fans. So
you certainly get that in this entire soundtrack, where it's a lovely homage to that style of music.
Mm-hmm. Now, for those of you who do not know, Shovel Knight is a very nice mix of several platforming games from the NES era. The big ones would be, of course, Mega Man and Mario for their level designs, and then throwing in a mechanic from DuckTales, actually. It has you bouncing off enemies a la Scrooge McDuck bouncing off enemies with his cane.
Yep.
Only this time you do it with your shovel. It works very well. There is a lot of beauty behind this game. Everything about it is beautiful. The pixel sprite work, the music, the level design. The story's fun and adorable to the point that you actually find yourself caring about what's happening despite its not so serious tone. And as we are about to discuss, once again, the soundtrack is amazing. So
yeah, this was a lot of fun to listen to throughout. I'm a huge fan of Mega Man music, and all the Mega Man tracks from NES to Mega Man X and all that. It had that feel to it, but almost at another level. He definitely took a lot of care to not fully copy the style of Mega Man, and also to elevate some of the capabilities that he has nowadays, to make it sound fuller.
Yes, that is one key point. He does have a lot of stuff going on in these tracks where systems like the NES could not handle what he's laying down here, and that's good because you would expect at least some difference and progression in technique and instrument work. So very good. So I want to shoot it to you first. I want to see your first track, if you would like. What
Sure.
stood out to you?
Well, I'd have to say the first track that really stood out was High Above the Land. The Flying Machine, I think, is the level name.
Yep.
It just has the beginning of it. It's great. It sounds like you're taking off from a helicopter.
Exactly.
You know, the just akin to the name of the song, the melody starts in this lovely low tone before soaring into the highest of highs. And the after the intro part, I'm really digging the samba vibe that this song has.
Mm-hmm.
Has a very kind of South American feel to it. At least the beat does. And after the first chorus, the brightness of the initial synth gives way to a rounder counterpart that kind of guides us towards the finish as the track evolves. The melody has this like lovely wistfulness as it climbs in scale, up and down scale, like you're flying through the clouds. And there's that ever present driving samba beat that kind of whisks us forward as we fly along on this, I assume, flying contraption.
Yes, it's very much in the air. This level.
Yeah,
basically just an airship, from Final Fantasy or something like that. But
right,
yeah, that open shuddering effect. It sounds like you're actually listening to the melody through spinning propeller blades. So I thought that was kind of a nice touch. This song is very on point. Like you're saying, it paints that picture of a great adventure soaring through the air. When that lead guitar really sings its melody during the pre-chorus and chorus, it hits those sustained notes, and it gives a very, very flighty kind of spread your wings feel to it.
Yeah.
It's an uplifting song, which is appropriate. There's a joy that comes with it that you can feel. And like we just said, it's revolving around an airship, and I think it's captured pretty well.
Yeah, you definitely get that sense of wonderment and adventure in this track, and it really does kind of lift your spirits as you listen to it. Mm-hmm. It's pretty great. How about you for your first track?
The first track I'm going to go with is probably appropriately the main theme. It thunders in with these heavy drums like explosions, and the intro just takes off with singing keys, bass guitar with a brief shining moment to sustain. And then there's a silence for a moment. And after that brief moment, the main theme kicks in with a wonderful melody and beat with a drum kit so similar to the NES. It's incredible. I just, the nostalgia I get from just the opening measure or two is pretty awesome. The guitar leads the song with its notes of fury, and the bass, while very smooth, does have great moments in the back. It hits a bunch of octaves and galloping during the majority of the track. The song takes a moment for an interlude, which doesn't slow down at all, but instead just takes the song in a different direction for some extra flavor. I think my favorite part is the pre-chorus, where the bass pops in much more with the octaves, hitting those key accents and just popping in and out. It's just a blast to listen to. The song really sets you up for the game you're about to play.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. It really sets an epic mood for this game as it goes forward. It has that kind of the intro itself has that you're taking off, like you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And like you said, it has that like sense of adventure to it. You said galloping. I wrote you get that horse galloping beat with hopeful melodies at the start that meld into more mysterious sections for a brief second before going right back into the galloping beat. And it really gets you amped to play the game for sure.
Yeah, just an entrance to this album, and you can't ask for more when you're completely absorbed by the song. And I think this one does that. So
yeah, for sure.
What about your next pick?
I'd have to go with the Defender. It's just a great... I assume it's a boss battle.
Yep.
Because it sounds like it's a great boss battle track. The intro of the song just goes hard with that rising note.
Yep.
And then the bass line for the beginning few bars is just killer. Really loud, and then kind of fades away into the background and lets the melody shine after that. It's like full of this strife and valor, and hitting the highest of highs with these triumphant harmonized stings. Da-da-da. You feel like you've done something great.
Yeah.
But then the track kind of turns sinister in the middle, conflict reaching its climax until you triumphantly defeated with the power of sick drums. Overall, just shines the track celebrating our glorious shovel heroes.
This song is the theme of the Black Knight, someone you repeatedly encounter, and the battles get increasingly more difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one starts off pretty determined and lets you know you're in for a fight with a quick ramp up and then a breakdown into the main theme. That midsection tone guitar just grinds along. It's a very mid-level. The guitars kind of trade off with the rhythm starting and then passing it off to the lead. It kind of bounces back and forth in a couple areas. I think the song takes some fun turns towards the end of the loop as the lead guitar really gets to play a little bit and change after it hits that remixed theme of the Black Knight's theme.
Yeah.
It launches into this interlude section with loud and sustained bends, and to kind of cap that off, we get percussion crashes on the new beat to bring us into a brand new section. So it's really fun to listen to. There are some changes that really kind of grab you, and it keeps this power.
Yeah.
The rhythm comes back into this much darker and rough section, and then we go straight back into the beginning. The loop ends, and we start the song over again. But it's overall, it's a fast tempo song, which keeps the excitement at a fever pitch because all these changes happen. There's quite a bit that goes on in this song for just being maybe like a minute long, I think the loop is. But
yeah, it's probably a minute and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a very exciting track.
It never slows down, never gives you a moment to breathe, and it definitely has that frantic pace that you want from a boss battle fight, especially one that is a recurring villain that you are constantly in strife with.
Mm-hmm.
Does a great job of that.
It's a game of cat and mouse with Shovel Knight and the Black Knight. It's pretty fun.
Awesome. How about you for the next track?
The next one I want to do is In the Halls of the Usurper. This is probably one of my favorite tracks on the album. It just opens so strong with that chorus. The lead guitar gives us that taste of a song, and then the percussion jumps in with another killer beat. The verse guitar is very rhythm guitar heavy and has a good tone to it before it scales up for those really high crescendos. There's some real fun accents going on with the synthesizer in this one too. When the guitar gets high, that synth has these triplets in between the notes that keep the song alive. When the song loop ends, it takes one step further to let that guitar really belt out one last section. It's such a fun listen. I like this one because it does feel rather grand. The mission is at hand, and we have this rogue king knight who's kind of taken over this castle, and he's your boss of the level. There's a momentum behind the song that almost urges you to keep going despite any danger. I think that determination is there, and it's just, there are really fun elements of the song that keep it so enjoyable to listen to. And that's not even to mention the bass, which plays much more of a background role than my usual picks, but it's still very, very active.
Yeah, you can definitely feel the bass kind of filling out this song with that guitar over top. It really helps drive it along. The intro of the song, weirdly enough, reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but a nerd metal band, Blind Guardian. You ever heard of them?
No.
They're German, I think, but they do like they have a full CD dedicated to the Lord of the Rings Silmarillion. Nice. So that's how nerdy they are.
That's awesome.
But it's just an ostentatious start to this track. It's like a very epic, almost arena like metal to start this song. And then you get this overwhelming feeling that we're overcoming obstacles and bad guys, and our reward is that amazing intro riff again. Yeah. Similar to the main theme, it also has that galloping beat, kind of ready to hammer home a sense of adventure and wanderlust. And the horn interlude as we vanquish the bad guys are just perfect. Just those trills are just perfect.
Yes, very much so. And that's that excitement I talk about when I mention it. It's like these songs just keep you, like, you're imagining things while you're playing, which is a little strange sometimes, but yeah, they just pull you in, and this song really does a lot for me personally.
I think it's interesting that like Mega Man too, tracks like this that are or soundtracks that are so, I don't know about in your face, but they're very powerful and fast and very triumphant.
Yep.
Really help push you along in a platformer to continue even after you get killed or you hit roadblocks. You want to try again because you want to listen to the music most of all.
It's funny you mentioned that, because when you die in this game, it's very quick, there's no song, there's no jingle, it's just you're dead, let's start over, and it dives you right back into that music, and that's awesome. It's almost like you don't care that you just died, because the song starts over again. You're just excited to keep going.
Yeah, none of these tracks really take too long to get going.
No. What is your third pick?
Third pick. Just because it was kind of interesting, I picked backed into a corner, which is the I guess the Hall of Champions boss. More boss music.
Boss. No, not a problem.
But I love how it starts like it's going to be another Castlevania track, and then immediately takes a 180 into this death metal like guitar riff. Like, I don't know.
There's a lot of metal in this song.
Yeah, I don't know if you felt this, but this is like an 8-bit Slayer track. This is Slayer. Like
I put in there that it's a metal track.
Yeah,
this is a good one.
It's just so chaotic and forceful. You get a real sense of time pressure in this track. Like all hell's breaking loose, and you're just trying to survive. And some of those, and in the like after a couple minutes, you get those haunting wails. They give even more tension. Yep. And then the crashing drums and the insidious bass line really set the tone, while the guitar on the top just rips. Yeah. It is a wild ride, this track.
Yeah, it is another dark and intense battle theme. You really feel this song, that the bass in this song, there's a lot of accenting synthesizer. The guitar is really buzzy and angry. The main theme is very heavy and has a lot of single hits in line with percussion, which gives it a lot of power. You know, the drums and the lead guitar lining up together. Yeah. The tempo changes are a key element here, as well as they are really fun to listen to, as the synthesizer shudders in and out with some really cool melodies. Now that howling sound you're talking about, that wailing, I think it's appropriate because the boss here is a ghostly figure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so he uses a different lead in this small section, which really squeezes that that lead note and creates a really sharp and shrill effect to add some new dynamics to the album, which I don't believe we hear in any other song, but gives this one a little bit more personality. This is an optional stage in the game, and this boss probably doesn't require such an intense song. It's a fun fight in which you cannot damage him using normal means. What this song demonstrates to me is just how much care they put into this game. You know, the Hall of Champions is a dedication to the Kickstarters, I believe, who donated to the original game's production.
Yeah.
There are pixel portraits of some of them, and some of their initials are in the area, and that's pretty cool. And, you know, they went out of their way to include a song like this for such a important piece of their history, so I thought that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. How about you? What's your final song?
My final song, La Danse Macabre.
Spooky.
What a song, man.
Yeah.
It opens so strong, and it's in the pocket immediately with that melody. The main theme really trudges forward, a little calmer than previous tracks, but with the same conviction. And then the guitar just takes off, and we get some tom hits to increase the tempo a bit, and into the chorus we go. There are many sections to this track that go from sinister to bouncy to hopeful, and I think that's why I really like it. It's an adventurous song, and while some others have a more one-note message, this one paints a picture I think that's a little more vibrant and exciting to me, especially towards the end of the loop where it increases tempo one last time after those synth trills get going. When I listen to this song, it's really an up and down motion, like driving on a hilly road, as you might suspect from the title and even the tone in the song. It does take place in a graveyard, this level. So where you face off against Spectre Knight, a very Grim Reaper type enemy. So I think it's very befitting of the level that it accompanies, and the song is just such a fun thing to listen to.
Yeah, the start of the track would fit perfectly in Castlevania, and it has that really neat ghostly ambient synth that kind of pops up here and there. The middle of the song has a great solo that really gives you that hopeful feeling until it cuts back into the loop.
It's a very cool change for the song because it does like you said, and it's hopeful, and it's almost contradictory to the rest of the song. And I really like that because it gives that sense of adventure and that you're accomplishing something and you're on this quest to save the world or the kingdom or whatever. And it's really nice.
Yeah, that up and down nature really helps give you that sense of adventure, especially in a track that is, two loops that are, a minute and a half or so. Getting that complexity in it is pretty amazing. And I love the stings that you have with the drums and the high note of the synth that really give you those hits of heroism. And then that kind of fades back into that more sinister, melancholy, like the ghosts are around. You hear the trills of the da 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 da, which are the specters that are leading you around, and then right back into the more triumphant music, and the hopeful solo really rounds this whole track out.
All that stuff combined just makes a really fun and engaging track. You're always invested in what other turn the composer's going to take. And I have so much fun with this song. I think it makes me want to play this game just listening to it again. Yeah. Just like, I guess, every song we've talked about, it's so much going on in this album that it's just a wonderful, vibrant album. And it makes me want to come back to this game.
It's amazing that for an album that the limitations that he put upon himself in terms of instrument use and synth use, to be able to get the amount of sound, the fullness and richness of sound, and the difference in songs that you can really feel that that composer come through and drive the narrative of each track and each level for, what is it, 40, 50 tracks is pretty incredible.
Yeah. It's just such a lush and intense soundtrack. And as I've stated before, I think chiptunes are beautiful when they're done right. And this album is a love letter to that genre of video games. And I think Jake Kaufman handles it with such grace and care that it's just a treat to listen to. He is working by, like you said, some restrictions because, we live in a day of technology where anything is possible.
Right.
And he chose to do this, and it fits the game because of its aesthetic. And he's able to do more than those systems could. But he doesn't do too much. He toes that line of more than you would get on a classic system, but less than too much,
Yeah,
so,
I feel like all he really necessarily does in terms of stretching the limitations is adding more tracks, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
More instruments, but realistically, the instruments themselves are pretty truthful to the NES. And
absolutely. One other thing I wanted to note about this album is Kaufman's use of remixes. What I find really cool is that each level has its own theme, and each level has its own boss. And unlike other games where you have one track for boss music, generally, like your Mega Man game, what he does is he takes the main theme from each boss's level and remixes the track in a much more amped up and exciting way, so that each level's boss has its own unique track. Something very interesting to listen to. It never gets old. Yeah. There's always something new when you turn a corner in this game, music-wise. It's just, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
He really gave it his all, and it comes through. And I want to say Manami Matsumae, she contributed 2 tracks to this soundtrack, and I want to give her a shout out too, because she definitely deserves it. I'm just going to mention one of the songs, 1,000 Leagues Below. I picked this one because it is important to note that, again, she is the first composer on Mega Man, and this song sounds very much like Mega Man, and it fits so well here. It's such a beautiful, mellow track. I don't know if you remember it at all, but it is an underwater level, and I think this one you could easily pop into a Mega Man game, and I wanted to give her a shout out because she does such a good job on 1,000 Leagues Below and Flowers of Antimony. Those are her 2 tracks on this album.
Yeah, I listened to it, and it's definitely has a different vibe from the rest of the tracks. Obviously, it's a different composer, but yeah, you could definitely just drop this into a Mega Man game, and it would fit. I mean, to be honest, you could probably drop a lot of these tracks into a Mega Man game, and it would feel right, or a Castlevania game, depending on the mood of the of the track.
I do agree with you completely that La Danse Macabre could be. I'm imagining Simon Belmont walking through the graveyard right now. Another series I fucking love. But
yeah.
So yeah, this album, all I'll say is that every song on this album has a character in and of itself, which just meshes completely with the game and its many quirky and funny characters. I think it's easy to say that the soundtrack has a life of its own. It is a long listen, clocking in at over 2 hours. Let me tell you, it is one hell of a good time. So where to buy it? This album has actually been released a few times. The definitive edition being released on a special vinyl. You can still pick this album up in several places, such as Amazon, for a reasonable price. However, I do encourage listeners to go to the sources and offer them money themselves. Jake Kaufman has a Bandcamp where you can purchase it digitally. It is virt.bandcamp.com/album/Shovel Knight original soundtrack. hyphens in between each word in Shovel Knight original soundtrack. And then seek out Manami Matsumae's works at bravewave.bandcamp.com. So, on top of that, the last thing I want to mention, as we talked about briefly at the beginning, this game had 3, I think, DLCs. Well, they each have their own release for albums, so you can pick those up too. So seek those out. I'm not going to give you the links to those, but they will probably be right around the corner. Yeah. So yeah, they're all definitely worth the listen. They're full length DLCs and full length soundtracks in their own right. So
did he compose all of them?
I believe so. He had help in small places, but I believe he's the mainstay.
Incredible.
Yeah. So, John.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts for this album, or do you want to go on to your rating?
Just a simple closing thoughts. This is a really great album that, like we've said, highlights the classic Mega Man feel with a modern evolution, its own feel to it. The composer himself does a great job having his own voice. Yeah, it makes me want to buy the game and play it. I probably will buy it and play it just simply because I was listening to these tracks. I'm like, man, this sounds like a fun game.
The game's a blast.
Yeah. So, in terms of rating, I would have to give it a 10 out of 10 shovels. The golden I'll give it the golden shovel. And it was just a real fun listen.
I will concur with that. 10 out of 10 shovels. I can't even think of a better random object to use. So 10 out of 10 easily. Thank you for joining us today, everyone, and you all have a good night.
Have a good night.
Night.
Shovel Knight.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, Another X-Files podcast for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple.
We're not doing that.
We certainly did. Never mind.
Try again.
Scratch that.
Check it out. Look it up.
John?
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, you like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say, we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.